Okay, cool. So, anyone have a question for me? See if I can at least get a few minutes in. Great, good. Thank you so much for writing me back, guys. Okay. Perfect. All right. So I'm waiting for my first question. Okay. Okay, I have a question from Marlene. When I hit post, oh, it's not a question. She wants to know if I have any favorite type of projects that I favor over any others. So my favorite types of projects are going to be the ones that don't take a long time to finish, right? So like little things like mug rugs, which is actually good that you asked me that, because I want to show you all something that I've been working on. And if I can actually get this live webcam thing to work out, I wanted to do like a live streaming tutorial, kind of like a demo. And so if you remember this tutorial that I did, little cupcake mug rug, well, I've been working on one now for the holidays, and are you guys ready? Let me show you. A little Frosty the Snowman's mug rug. I thought it was so cute, and I'm thinking of doing this as a live, like a live streaming video, like a demo. It would just be on my channel, and so like I probably won't take any questions, and I'll just show you all how to do it. And if you are unable to visit or to like catch the live demo, then it will just be saved to my channel like a regular video that you can always go back and watch it. So I really like this little guy, and I just designed him yesterday. I think it's super cute. So I think I might do this as a live session if you guys are interested in something like that. So Patricia wants to know, what are my upcoming projects? Right now I'm actually working on a few different quilts that I'm trying to submit to QuiltCon. It's going to be like the first conference for modern quilters. It's in Austin, Texas, I think, in February coming up. And so they're taking submissions for quilts that you want to get judged, or just to have them on display there at the show. And I have to send it in by the end of the month. So I'm working on a mini quilt and then a larger quilt that is done, but it just needs to be quilted and bound. And that's what I'm working on. I have a million projects to do. I have like a super long list. I just, it takes time. I have to find the time to when I can actually do it and come up with new patterns or give you guys free tutorials, whatever it is. Marlene, good. So yeah, this will be a little live one. I really like it too. I think it's super cute. And it's awesome because you can embellish it all different kinds of ways. Like I had used just a scarf. Let me make sure that you guys, I'm putting this right in the camera where I need it. Yeah. So the little fabric underneath is the fabric for the scarf. But then I thought, it would be cute to add like another layer of texture to it. And so I added just a little ribbon, and this is hand sewn on. And then these little buttons, they're actual, they're real buttons. They add more texture, so it gives it, another layer of embellishment. And super cute. Yeah, so that'll be a fun little project, I think. I think some people, people would like to tune in for that. They're quick little projects. It's not a full quilt that you have to make, and, they're great for gifts. Great. Yeah, definitely. Patricia says it's something that she can do with her granddaughter. I definitely agree. It's especially for kids who don't have maybe that long of an attention span. It's a great little project that you can whip up. It doesn't even have to be pieced. Like this one, you can see is just the background is one solid piece, and so is the back of it is just one solid piece. And so you can spend most of your time just doing the embellishment, and that would be really fun for kids, I think. So this is kind of cool that I'm actually getting to answer your questions and I can see what you all are posting. But I'm going to see if I can install it. Next time I do this, I'll sort everything out. But I'm glad that you have to be able to do it live to then figure out where are the mistakes or where are the difficulties and things that you need to figure out. Because behind the scenes, without making the video go live, I can't figure that out because I already tried that. And obviously I ran into more trouble once it did actually go live. But I'm going to see if I can install like a little gadget on the blog that you can, it's just like a pop-up window for live chatting. I'm going to see if I can do that so that the next time we do that, it'll be like the same page. I'll embed it in the blog, and then you all can head over and it'll be like live chat, which you won't have to refresh the video every time, which is I know what you guys are doing right now. Sorry about that. But you know what you can do is you can be watching me live on the YouTube channel page, and then you can just come to the blog to post a comment, which is kind of cumbersome, but I mean, for now, since we're just doing this, you know. Yeah, neither do I, Marlene. I don't have a long attention span either. That's why I like little projects. Oh, dear. Let's see what else. So Maggie wants to know, where do I get my inspiration and energy to keep up with crafts, blogging, videos, kids, and the farm? I'm naturally really hyper as is. Like, I don't take any caffeine, and I'm super hyper. I get that from my mom. But it is a lot. You know, I hardly have time for anything. Excuse me. It's hard. A lot of things don't get done around here. Things like cleaning the house. I don't do that. My husband does that. But like right now he's with the kids and he's probably wondering where I am, since this chat was supposed to be from 12 to 12:30. But whatever, you know, technical difficulties. He let me actually lock myself up in the studio today to work on some projects, and I finished this little mug rug and things like that. But I work really late at night. I go to sleep maybe 2 o'clock every morning. And I try to do what I can, you know. A lot of times I have so many things to do that I'm like, okay, I need to just stop and just even ignore this, even if I don't get to do it like I should, because I need to go, you know, spend more time with my kids, or we should all go out and do something as a family. And just I try not to get too bogged down, because even though this is my job, like people think, oh, you just craft and I just sew and do nothing all day, you know, just have fun. But it's a lot, you know. I get hundreds of emails every single day, and I try to answer them all, but it just, you know, they pile up on you. So it's a lot of work, you know, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, prepping for the videos, filming the videos, coming up with the ideas, how I'm going to do the step by step, and I edit all my videos myself, so that takes, I mean, the editing part of the video takes longer than it does for me to shoot the whole video. So it's a really long process, but I just do what I can, and whatever doesn't get done, doesn't get done. Whatever. I try not to take everything too seriously. Okay. I echoed something horrible. What do you mean, Marlene? So she says, did you ever think that when I started this it would be so huge? Well, I'm not that huge, but no, I had no idea it was going to do that. Like, my husband was the one, you know, I was, like most of us out there, I like to do fun, creative, different things. And so I don't like to do the exact same project over and over again. You know, like completely kills the creativity aspect of it. And so when I first started making projects, my friends would see it. They're like, oh, can you make me one of those bags? Can you make me one of those bags? And after like 3 or 4, it's like, okay, I'm tired. This is the exact same bag over and over again. And so then I thought, well, maybe I'll teach classes. But then people wanted me to teach them the exact same class over and over again. So that killed the creativity again. And then my husband was the one that came up with the idea. And he's like, why don't you just do the project once, film it, put the video up on YouTube, so when people ask you about it, tell them, you know, here's the link. Just go watch it. Leave me alone. And so that's what I did. But aside from my friends and local people watching it and stuff, then I started getting emails from people all around the world. And so then it was like, well, hey, they liked my videos. Maybe I'm onto something. And it kind of just grew from there. So Tess is saying, I must have took the long way. I would like to know what machines you see to quilt, not the long arm. Like which ones what machines you use. Maybe you meant what you use to quilt, not the long arm. So there's so many different machines out there, and nowadays even the most beginner machine is going to allow you to do basic quilting on your machine. Like this, you know, there's some quilting lines on here, and I just did that on my machine. If you have a walking foot, you can do just straight line quilting, which is what most people do because it's simple. You can follow like the seam lines or the stitch line of your patchwork if you're doing a bigger quilt. But if you want to do like free motion quilting, all you need is like a little stippling, a free motion foot, or they're called like a darning foot, free motion foot, quilting feet, you'll see it. And it just allows you, if your machine has the functionality to put down the feed dogs on it, then you can move your fabric around however you want, and you can stitch, you know, do all kinds of free motion stitching if you want. to do that. But I've had all kinds of machines. I mean, I've had Viking machines, Brother, Singer, Janome. I've had a ton of machines, and really, I mean, it's just a matter of preference. Sometimes when people start off with one particular brand of machine, they're just like, okay, I'm diehard this brand. I'm never going to buy anything else. And so it's just up to you. Oftentimes, you know, it's what you can afford in your budget. But I would say look for those type of features. A machine that allows you to put down the feed dogs on the machine if you're wanting to do some free motion quilting. If you want to do straight stitching, just make sure that you can buy an accessory foot, you know, the walking foot, or it's also called the dual feed foot on your machine, and that will help you do that. And then aside from that, it's just going to be, you know, the throat space on the machine, like how much space you have from where the needle goes to the back side of the bed of the machine, how much space you have there. The bigger the space there, the easier you'll be able to quilt the larger quilts. So like my long arm machine is like a 17-inch, you know, so even when I'm using that, I can quilt that much of space at a time. On a smaller machine, think about how big the quilt will be, and you have to roll everything under there inside that little space to be able to quilt, you know, on the outer edge of it. So that's something to keep in mind. But I know people that do it all the time, even with a regular basic small machine, and you'll see them like they're quilting queen size quilt. That's too much for me. I don't have the patience for that. Let's see what else we have. Oh, Patricia, thank you. Maggie, one more question. I keep hearing that a serger machine is needed for some projects. She only has a cheapy little Singer sewing machine. Does she have to buy a serger for simple patterns like dresses and aprons? You don't have to buy a serger. Sometimes for different projects, I don't like the way the serger edge looks just because there's so much stitching on there. It does keep it from fraying or from unraveling on you. But sometimes, you know, there's certain things that you may not want to open up a tote bag and see those serged edges right there. So another option that you always have is to do a French seam, and I have a tutorial on that. It can make it look a lot more professional looking and more finished because there is no raw edge, there is no stitching there. It's like how I do, if you've watched my pillowcase, you know, the sausage method of making the pillowcase. It's how all the seams end up on the inside. They're like super clean. It's just like fabric, and it just looks like it's folded. You don't see any threads coming out or anything like that. So all you would have to do for all those type of things like dresses and aprons, all you would do is, if say you're following a commercial pattern, the seam allowance is probably going to be 5/8 of an inch. I would just add another like 1/2 inch to that seam allowance, because remember when you do the French seam, you have to trim away some and you have to account for the doubling up, you know, because you do it twice. So if you want, you can look up my tutorial on that. Just type in, you know, how to do a French seam. And in that video, I actually show you 2 different ways. It's like how to finish seams. So I show you how the serger does it and how you do it with the French seam, so you can see the difference. But you don't have to buy a serger. If you have a basic sewing machine, that's fine too. I mean, if you're going to start like a business or something that you need to make up on time and just, you know, start cranking out projects, then maybe you want to look into it. But you definitely don't have to buy it. Oh, Tess, you meant like what machines do I use to sew with now? What's my favorite? Well, the one that I'm using right now is a Brother. It's like a PC 420. It's a Project Runway model, and it's like the higher one up of there. I think it costs like you can get it for like $300 or $400 now, and it has like 3 sets of alphabets. It's a basic machine. It has tons of accessory feet, and I think it even came with the walking foot, which is an accessory foot. You usually have to buy it separate. What I like the most about that machine, and the reason I traded in a Viking machine that I had for that one, is because it has the automatic cutter. It's like a little button on the machine that has scissors on it, and when you press that, like after you stop stitching, say you reverse stitch and back stitch, and you know normally you'd have to like pull your fabric out, trim your little threads. Well, that machine, the machine that I have, you press the little scissor button, and it like cuts it right there for you. So it only leaves like really short little thread tails that you can go back and clip them, or sometimes they don't even bother. So that's really why I got that machine, because the Viking that I had and some of the other models, for you to get high enough in the level of machines for, you know, for any brand out there, to get high enough to where you had these automatic scissors on it, I mean, it was like $2,500 machine. And this one for less than $500, you can get it with that feature. So that's one of the things. So that's my favorite machine, I would say, right now. Marlene. Oh, Marlene said she'd kill it to have a long arm. Yeah, well, I got mine. My husband and I were dating at the time, and I had my first quilt was 50 inches by 50 inches, which is not that big. But I tried to quilt it on my regular machine, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to sew straight lines right here. I had so many puckers on the back, I didn't even baste it. It was a nightmare. So after that, I told my husband, I was like, look, I love to quilt, but I can't quilt on my machine, so you have to get me a long arm. He didn't even know what the machine did, but he got me one anyway, so that was really nice of him. Marlene wants to know, she says, I love your studio, and I'm really curious what's in the little boxes up in the loft. So up there, some of them are just like the boxes of like my sewing machine. Let me see if you can even see that from here. Hold on. They're nothing special. It's not like anything new that I have patched up there. So it's like the felt, that Simplicity felting machine box is up there. I just have like some frames, canvases, and stuff that I paint on when I do other crafts like that. And then the rest of them, like the ones that are brown that you see back there, are all vintage patterns. Is that awesome or what? They're like 1970s, 1980 patterns for like women's sizes, home decor, accessory stuff. And there's a box that I have that's for just kids patterns, and I cannot find it in moving. I think it's in another shed, but that's what most of that stuff is. And then what you see up there is like those big plastic white things are just the covers for sewing machines that they came with. You know, I don't keep those big covers on. I prefer to use, you know, the cover that I made. But that's it. It's just mostly vintage patterns. Let's see what else we've got on here. You're not a big deal. I wanted to try and give you all like a view of the studio so people knew where I was at, but okay, let me see something. People. Oh, this is so funny. People are posting, I guess, on the video, on the one that's live on my YouTube channel. Let me see what's showing over there. What are you all working on? What kind of projects are you people working on today? I have so much work to do. I still have a bunch of projects to finish, but I'm glad that I was able to chat and answer a couple of your questions. I think I'm going to go for another. Hold on. This is not showing me. I'm showing me what people are posting this times too. Let's see. Okay. So somebody else posted and says that they cannot cut out at all. They measure and mark and still turns out a mess. Any tips? Well, I have a video on cutting tips, basics. It's I think it was like my second video I ever posted. But if you look up like in Google, do a search for sewing lessons, cutting basics. I cover a lot of the tips that I use literally on a daily basis there. But another thing is that a lot of people don't know. I'll show you something. When it comes to rulers, you can see this is, well, this is the same brand. It's just a different style. Let me grab one of these other rulers. Hold on, please. Okay, so like this ruler is an Olfa ruler, and then these are OmniGrid rulers. So they're different brands. And so one thing that people don't know is that just because that they're all done to scale, so sometimes if you start cutting with like one brand and then you go and cut and trim up with another, you may notice that your stuff ends up being off because there may not be exactly the same. So what I tell people is like, once you buy your rulers, just stick to that same brand, you know, so that you won't have any problems in the future. I try to buy all the same ones. The only one that I have different is this one. The rest of mine are the OmniGrid ones, and they work fine. And then I would say another thing that I do to help keep my fabric and pieces precise is to starch them, because the weave on like cotton fabrics and stuff is not, it's not that tight, you know. You can really distort the fabric pretty easily. You know, if you look up close to your fabric like that, you can see right through it, so it's not that densely woven. And so you can distort it pretty easily, like with an iron, or if you're pulling it, or even as you're stitching in the sewing machine. If the presser foot is clamping down too hard on your fabric, by the time, you know, you may start off with two pieces of the same length, but by the time you stitch, you may notice that the top one is a little bit longer by the time you get to the end. And that's because it's being, like, it clamps down too hard on it, and it's stretching it little by little as it takes each stitch. So what I like to do for that is, you know, check your pressure foot tension on the machine to to make sure that it's not that tight down onto the fabric. Then starch your fabric. I starch my fabric a lot, especially if I'm doing patchwork like for quilting. If you're cutting really small pieces, you know, you can move them and distort them and stretch them out really easily. So I really starch my fabric, and it makes it nice and stiff, to where the point where you're putting multiple pieces of fabric, you know, your little patchwork pieces together, when you sew them, they're so starched that they end up being like little pieces of paper. And they're great because it doesn't move on you, it doesn't stretch, and it's like super easy to like put one on top of the other and stitch right through. You know, if it's going to be in a quilt or something that's going to be washed, you don't have to worry about the starch because you'll just wash it out later, but it will help keep the fabric, you know, true to size, so it won't distort on you as you're working with it. Because even if you cut good, as you're stitching or you're moving around and playing around with the fabric and putting the quilt together, it can get completely distorted on you. I hope that helps. So let's see. Yeah, Marlene, I know you can't post anywhere on comments. I think it's like after I ended those sessions that, because they were live hangouts, live on air, I think it then posted it or send it out to my subscribers or something like that on YouTube. And then after it's posted, they can like comment on there. But I deleted them. I don't know why they're still showing up. Probably just taking YouTube a while to get rid of them. Patricia says she just finished a jelly roll quilt and pillowcases to match for her granddaughter. I posted them on Craftsy. It's super cute. I'm actually working on a jelly roll quilt. I've been working on it. Let me show you. The fabrics are super cute. Let fall back here. So I've been working on this jelly roll quilt for months. You can see I'm only done. I don't think I finished doing even the first seam line. But if those of you that don't know, a jelly roll quilt is like a quilt. They call it also like a race quilt or 1600 quilt, because it's made up like after, you know, a jelly roll is like a whole roll that comes in these 2.5-inch strips. And so what happens is, like, when you sew it all together, you end up with like 1600 inches of fabric like this, and it's like one continuous loop. Like, you just meet the two ends, stitch it down, clip, you know, you cut it, and so at the end you end up with a really nice sized lap size quilt. But I really love this fabric. It's called Vintage Modern, and it has the colors of my studio, you know, like the red, the white, and that little light aqua type color. So this is a jelly roll quilt. I'm glad you told me, because I need to finish this quilt. So thanks for letting me know. Feel free, remember, always to post pictures on my Facebook page. Oof. Fabric scrappies. You can always post your pictures to my Facebook page. You know, we always love to see those pictures there. It helps give other people that come on the page also some inspiration for them to get ideas for their projects. Okay. Eleni says she's making the top of a baby quilt and she's supposed to zigzag stitch some flowers and letters on top of the fabric. But the first few stars that she zigzagged with the machine turned out quite horrible. So she's hand sewing the rest of the designs and it takes forever. Any suggestions on what kind of stitch I could use on the machine instead of zigzag? So this is a good question. Because you're zigzag stitching it on top, it's probably like puckering up on you and moving and stuff. All you need to do is take some lightweight fusible. It could be, well, not even fusible. You can just use any kind of lightweight interfacing and just lay it behind it. What you're wanting to do is to stabilize the fabric a little bit more, because the zigzag stitch, since they're so thread dense, if you're just using it, you know, on a light cotton and a light cotton, and you have to do all these little stitches all the way around, it might pucker up on you and stuff. So you want to stabilize it a little bit more. So just find any kind of tearaway stabilizer. I mean, there's a million different kinds of like interfacings and stabilizers out there. But just find something lightweight that either rips off, or they even have ones that are water soluble, that like you could just leave it on, and then after you wash the quilt, you know, it'll just dissolve completely. But if you stabilize the back so that then you're doing the zigzag stitch through the applique piece on top, the quilt top, and then that stabilized, you know, whatever the stabilizer is on the back side, you'll see that it'll look a lot different. So just try it on some scraps, and I think that will help you. Because any of the other stitches, if you have other decorative stitches on your machine that you'll do instead of a zigzag, they're going to be even more dense as far as how much thread each of those stitches take up, like a blanket stitch and stuff like that. And I still would stabilize it, you know, regardless. You can play around with other decorative stitches, but still put that stabilizer behind it, and that will help. Good. Yeah, definitely load up on the starch tomorrow. You've never used it before. Wow. I do not. You can see. It's everywhere, okay? I buy it at the dollar store. I just use the magic starch, and it works great. I get like 5 or 10 at a time because then my husband uses it for his shirts, and I always need to have it on hand when I'm working on patchwork. So I'm glad that tip will help you. So let's see what else. Someone else is saying she made the sewing machine cover and did pretty well, so she can't thank me enough for that. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad to hear it. She loves the pattern. She's going to make it into it. That's a good idea, right? Because of the square, the way it's stitched around like that, you can get that square bottom. So it would be a good idea to turn that into a bag. That's cool. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like what I do. Oh, Gil, that's your name. Okay, cool. You don't know how to make an account. On the blog, it requires you to like either have like a Google account or one of these things, but it's okay. It just pops up on my page as anonymous. That's okay. Let's see. No problem, Lenny. Glad to help. What else? Let's see. Oh my goodness. Since I was doing it on like a Google Hangout Live, all these guys started adding me. My husband is they're like, hey, let's chat. Hey, let's chat. I'm like, no. I'm trying to get some work done here. This is for my Facebook fans. So people are still like adding me on that thing, like, hey, let's chat. Crazy. Let's see if I have any other questions. Oh, good. I'm glad I got to answer some really good questions. Are there any tutorial suggestions that you all have? I'm always, you know, I have an ongoing list, but I just like to see kind of different times of the year what people really want, or if, you know, if they really want something for the end of the year, and if I get enough of an interest that I think, you know, the video will be quite popular, then you know, obviously it's something I'd like to bump up on the list. And she didn't know if she could post pictures on Facebook, post pictures. Oh, definitely, Patricia. So, like, if you're gonna post a comment on my page, you can just type it in right there, like whatever message you want to put with the post, and then let me see what it says. I think you click on Add Photo or something. Let me see what it is exactly. Yeah. So right there, when you go to my page to post a comment, you can click where it says Photo/Video, and when you click on that, then the little box will open up. And you will just browse your computer, whatever drive you have your stuff on, and you can click on there and upload the image directly to the page. So, I can't see the questions. Margaret's one of my face tests. She's on the Facebook page still. Oh no, it was 20 minutes ago. Okay. So somebody else wants to know, maybe it's Gil, I don't know, because it's just showing up as anonymous. How long did it take you to do your amazing studio? Ha! Oh, don't even remind me. Every time I think about it, I'm just like traumatized. We had the studio built. I got it, you know, custom ordered. I told them how many windows I wanted and all that. And they actually delivered it to the property last year, October. And so it just sat here until, I don't know, I think it was like February or March. That I finally started, or maybe end of January, maybe early February, that I was like, okay, you know, I got the money together. I was like, okay, I'll do the installation first. Because we had been debating back and forth whether we were going to hire somebody to finish it or just do it myself. And so then I just was like, no, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to learn. It's going to take me forever, but I'll figure it out. The same way people learn from me on YouTube, I learned from all kinds of people on YouTube on how to do all this. So then I did the installation, the drywalling. I got one of my neighbors to help me do the drywalling up top. You can see because the ceiling is like vaulted like that. Let me see if I can. You see how it's like up? And so since it's not a flat ceiling, I needed help to hike up those huge sheets of sheetrock up there. And so my neighbor and my husband helped me do some of the top part there. Then I did the rest of the drywalling, the mudding, the taping, doing all that, sanding it down, and then finally the painting. So it took me forever, basically. Yeah. I don't know, months, maybe 3-4 months. But I mean, the insulation, like the side, the drywalling and taping it up and paint, that was me by myself. Like nobody helped me. My mom and my sister came one day and they helped me finish up the floor, and that was like the final touches. But everything else, I did it all by myself. Like late at night, like I would come in here at midnight to 3 in the morning and just be like, I'd go inside the house and like my eyelashes would be like mudded shut with like drywall compound. It was just a disaster. But you know, now it ends up being worth it because I can say, you know, I did it by myself. I did it. All right, Marlene says, I always gravitate toward the tutorials that are not clothing. So anything that I have a tutorial on, I have either made a plan or making. I've tried clothing before, but making clothes is not my idea of fun. I used to be the same way. And recently, I'm starting to get more into like clothing making. I'll tell you, if you guys know that, you know, I was in Denver last week shooting an episode for Sew It All. That episode is actually a garment project. But I think that if you like my style of instruction, kind of how I do things in my video tutorials, I think that I'll be able to get more people into like the garment making, just by the way that I try to explain things and break it down. So hopefully next year when that episode airs, you know, it'll be popular and people will really like it. I'm doing a great job. A fan from Estonia. Ooh, Estonia, that's far. What was or is my biggest quilting project? So my biggest quilting project was my first queen size quilt that I did, and it was actually for a customer. It was all made up of half square triangles, and I made like 480 half square triangles to put that quilt together. It took me a little over a month, I think, and I worked on it every single day. And by the time I was finished, I did not want to sell it. But I had to because, you know, it was an order. It was a local friend of mine. She was giving it to her sister as a wedding gift. But that was the biggest one that I've done so far. And I have an amazing studio. Thank you. I'm glad everybody likes my studio. It's fun. I get to just lock myself in here, you know, and not be bothered. Tess. Hey, Tess, you joined us. Hey. She says she's with Marlene. She's really more into quilting and crafting, things that are fast to make herself. I mean, I feel you. I try to do some quick projects, and I like to do functional things too that make either cute gifts or that, you know, things that people can use, not just little things that go up on a wall. And that's one of the reasons I think I took to quilting, because it's like a piece of art, but then you can pass it down from family to family, generations and generations, and it's a functional piece of artwork. So that's one of the reasons I like quilting so much. Anything for the holidays would be awesome. Tess, maybe you missed it, but I was showing earlier that I'm probably going to do this as a live tutorial project. A little Frosty the Snowman mug rug. So if that's something you're interested in, just stay tuned to the Facebook page because obviously I'll post it and I'll let you all know when I plan to do that. Maggie says, do I have any videos where I combine different types of crafts, like a purse with knitted flowers or some other types of material, kind of mixed media? The only one I can think of right now is like my fabric postcard because it has paper on the back and the front is fabric. But that's definitely a project that you can do all kinds of mixed media with because you can, I mean, embellish it with beading and buttons and paper and wire, and you can do all kinds of stuff to a project like that. But not right off the bat, I can't really think of stuff like that. But I'd like to get more into doing things like that. They won't be like step-by-step tutorials, but they'll be like live demos where I'll just show you how I put something together. Kind of more like to give people ideas and inspiration so they can go and make their own thing. But they won't be like step-by-step because obviously you may not have the same buttons or the same fabric or the same whatever that I have, but just to give inspiration. But I do want to get more into like mixed media stuff. Marari says, how about maternity shirts or nursing tops and patterns? Well, that was something that I had on my list when I was pregnant the first and the second time, but since I'm not pregnant anymore, that's really like not on my mind. Nursing tops, I really just use like sports bras. I had never really got into like having a whole maternity wardrobe, just because I'm so laid back. I just like throw on any old thing and go. But patterns, I haven't worked on anything like that yet, but I'll write that down. I'll put it on my list so that I know. All right, Tessa's mug rugs and mini quilts are her favorite things to make right now, and wall hangings. You sound like me, definitely small little things. So yeah, the mug rugs is a great little project. I may eventually look into the future of hosting maybe a swap, something that we can do like pen pals and kind of get a list of people together where we can mail each other one and kind of switch around like that. You know, for the holidays or for different theme things for different months. I think that would be a cool idea, so let me know if you guys are interested in doing something like that. Oh, you did see a good test. Yeah, they're super cute gifts, and they're really simple. You know, they don't take that long to whip up. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna go for 2 more minutes. I'll take one or two last questions, and we'll end this off at 1:30, an hour after this was supposed to start. Sorry. Oh, you like the swap idea? Cool. Yeah, I just have to work out the logistics on that and make sure. What I don't like about swaps that I've participated in the past is that you know, you spend your time making something, you get cute fabric, and you send something away to your swap partner. You know that they're going to love it, and you really put some time into it, and the next thing you know, whoever had you never even send it to you. And so that happened to me once with like a mini quilt that I did. I spent so much time on it. It was super cute. I sent it, and I never received one. It wasn't from that same person I sent it to, but whoever was my swap partner never sent me theirs, you know. And I contacted the person hosting the swap, and they said they tried to get a hold of her, and it just ended up falling through. And that was like 2 years ago. And so after that, I was a little devastated because, you know, I was expecting to get a cool little mini quilt back. So I think it would just be something to make sure that people, you know, will sign up and will follow through with what they say. Okay, let's see the last couple comments. You're trying to post on your Pinterest a pen pal thing. I can't always keep up with vlogs. I love too much, but pen pal works for cool test. I said your name right. Merari Alvarado. I speak Spanish too, so I figured I could read. Southwest Florida, cool. Marlene, you understand completely. I've gotten ripped on those. Isn't that terrible? I can't stand it when people do that. It's like, why sign up for something unless you're absolutely sure? And even if things come up, you know, it's like you have an obligation. Like, make the time, do what you need to do, and send what you said you were going to send. All right, everybody. I'm so glad you all tuned in. I hope I was able to answer even a few of your simple little questions. I promise next time will be funner. And I'll try to do like a live, like a chat thing where more people can join in and stream it. Even if I have to maybe do it on my Google Hangout where I'll just have people sign up who wants to join. I'll get your email address. Because to do it on Google Hangouts, if I enter your email address, then you can join directly on Google Hangouts, and it's a lot easier. Because you'll see me right on the screen, and I'll be able to see those of you that have webcams and would like for me to see you. So if we're doing a project or something, you can like, hey, look what I did, you know, show me right there on camera, and everybody else can see your stuff too. And so I think that that's something that I definitely want to do. But I think this is going to be it for now. It's 1:30, and I'll end it there. Glad to have you all join in. It was nice to meet you guys too. Good to have the opportunity to chat with you as well. And I'll keep working on more videos. I'm actually working on one for Monday. It may not be a tutorial, but I'll post a tutorial later in this week. I think what I'm going to post tomorrow, a lot of people have been asking me after I posted the pictures of the duckies, of our little ducklings, is for a video on the ducklings and the farm and stuff. So I may do one like that for Monday. But thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Now, how do I get out of this thing? Here we go.